So, first things first, philosophy starts with some preparation. Preparation today is something to think about. What we're thinking about is, can you imagine if it were possible for you to come up with an invention that would change the world for the better? If money was no object, if technology was no object, and you could come up with an invention that would change the world for the better, what might that be? And so I'd really like you to talk in twos or threes and share your ideas. Talk them through with someone, share them. What might you invent? Okay, just finish off those conversations. Fantastic. So I've just heard we were on fire here, came up with about 5 things. So we're just going to have a couple of suggestions. Just share one thing with us. Maybe we'll have 4, 5, 6 suggestions from people. So if you've got an invention to share, stick your hand out, Bailey.
Our invention was like, if someone was to get shot, you press the button and then it comes back in the thing again. But like, if the bullet was coming, it would stop and it go back into the gun, and then the person who was going to shoot the thing would think and just walk off.
Wow. A machine that would make you think again about shooting. Wow, that sounds really futuristic. Thanks, wonderful. What other suggestions are there?
I was thinking, if you didn't have any time for breakfast in the morning, you could wind back time, and you could have breakfast, and then wind back the time again and go.
How interesting that they're both time related. How fascinating. That sounds really practical. Yeah.
You could have radiators and shoes, little radiator things, and then have grips on them. If it's icy and you don't want to slip, then you put radiators and grips on them.
What do you think inspired that invention? The fact that it's so freezing in the home this morning. Yeah, fantastic invention. Yeah.
We were thinking of an invention that would like spread love across the world. So like it would make people not have wars or anything, and like people wouldn't be like looking for money and stuff because they would have the love to share.
Wow. What would you call it?
I have no idea.
The
Lovinator.
The Lovinator. Yeah.
I would create a machine that makes mechanical, realistic-looking doves that have something inside them, and you can send them over to places where people are fighting and stop the people fighting.
Right. Wow, that would make a big difference in the world. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd make an invention that could pause time, and so if there was you could do loads of things, like if there's like a bomb or something, you could just pause time, and the person like holding it could just like run to the bomb and defuse it, and then it would help like if someone needed to do loads of things in the house and in a certain amount of time, or wants to have a Christmas dinner ready on Christmas Day without using all of Christmas Day.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I love the way you've thought of some everyday uses and then some really big uses for the same invention. Wow. And how interesting these connections across the circle of people who've come up with different inventions but all connected to time. Okay. Yeah.
A transporter.
Right. What would that do?
It would help people get places really, really quickly in about 5 seconds, and you wouldn't have to use cars or trains or anything.
Why would that be a good idea?
Because it would be free.
Right. Wow. It would save
Get
money.
one when you're born.
Wow. Amazing. Abbas?
I'd invent something that would get rid of poverty, so no one would ever go hungry again.
Wow. Amazing. Last one, yeah?
I'd invent a machine that if you had one gene of something, you'd put it into it, and it would create an object or creature that the gene was from.
Wow. So you could just conjure up like beings from just one. Wonderful.
That would be epic. You'd make a unicorn.
Hey, do you know what? This activity almost seems like it's the beginning of, you could do some amazing writing, couldn't you? Some amazing imaginative writing starting off with this activity. The ideas that you've come up with just seem like the beginning of something really interesting. Now, for our stimulus today, it's linked to what we've just been doing. It's an invention that I want to share with you. And funnily enough, it's an invention that's linked to time, just like Maya and Casey and some of and Kizzy were saying. So let me tell you about this invention. Once upon a time, there was an inventor who drew up some plans for an amazing invention. This invention was a robot called the Criminator. I've got a picture. This is one of the pictures that she drew up of what it would look like. So the Criminator used to work like this. The inventor looked at the world, just like we were doing there, when we were saying what's wrong with the world that we'd like to change. She looked at the world and saw that there was loads of crime among adults. She saw that adults were robbing and stealing, and some adults were really hurting each other. And she thought the world would be so much better if there was no crime in the world. Can I just pass that around while I tell you about it? So she thought, if I could come up with a robot that prevented crime, then that would be an invention that changed the world. So she drew up the plans of this. The Criminator looks a person in the face and scans their face really meticulously. And then it does a really complicated sum. And it gives out a reading. The reading tells you whether this person in front of you is going to do a crime in the future or not. And if they are going to do a crime in the future, then the police are alerted, and then the police would arrest that person. And by arresting them, they would prevent the crime from ever having happened. And then, hey presto, crime would be eradicated. There would be no more crime in a country that had this machine. So she was really excited about this. And she took a plan to the government. But for some reason, the government were not too keen on this invention, and they didn't give her permission to go ahead and make it. They didn't give her the funding to go ahead and make it. And so her plans were just shelved. And so in her workshop for many years, she was very frustrated because her plan didn't get to be built. And so she came up with a new idea. She started working on a second machine in secret. This time, no one was going to stop her making it. She identified another problem. Adults weren't the only people who were doing bad things in the world. She saw that kids were at home, they could be really cheeky, at school they could be disobedient, they could be totally mean and rude to their friends sometimes. So she came up with a new model for children called the Naughtybot. Okay? The Naughtybot works in a really similar way. A Naughtybot would scan the face of a child, and it could tell the very next naughty thing that they would do. And before they'd done it, in advance, it would just tell them off in front of everybody. And then sometimes it would punish them, it would give them a detention or send them to the bedroom or take away a privilege or something like that. So it would punish children in advance. They'd feel so bad having been punished by the Naughtybot that whatever the naughty thing that they were going to do, they wouldn't do it anymore. So hey presto, something that completely eradicates naughtiness in children. An amazing invention, she thinks, that could change the world. And so what I've done is I've built a prototype, a model of this invention. I'm going to show it to you, and then we're going to have a minute's thinking time. You can have a bit of a look at it. And I want you to think during this thinking time, what is interesting, what is problematic, what is troubling, what's weird or mysterious about this invention? What would you like to talk about for the rest of the session? Okay. So let's have a minute's thinking time. Okay, and just to share with other people what's been going on in your head during that thinking time. Can you just talk to the person next to you about what your first response is to this invention? What's your first thought about it? Good thing, bad thing, weird thing, worrying thing, fantastic thing? What's your first response to this invention? Just tell the person next to you or the two people sitting next to you.
What do you think about it?
Okay, everyone, just bring those conversations to an end.
They might have been Victorian times when they were.
Okay. What we're going to do, just to finish off first thoughts, is do something we sometimes do, which is share one word, just to give everyone a flavour of what we were talking about. So I'll just give you a little bit more thinking time. You're coming up with one word to sum up what you were just talking about then. So just have a bit of a think. So let's go around. Maybe we'll start with Abbas, and then we'll go around this way. and just share just one word that gives people a flavour, a sneak peek of what you were discussing just then. Pay attention to everyone's words, because they might be the building block of the question that you're going to ask in a minute, okay? Abbas?
Unfair.
Suspicious.
Mysterious.
Weird.
Freaky. Useless.
Unkind.
Scared.
Nervous.
Fear.
Mistake.
Mistake.
Wire thirsty.
Okay, that was quite an enigmatic word. Okay. So, now I've shared our first thought, we need to pull those thoughts together into a question that's going to be interesting for us all to talk about. Now, I always say this, but I just really want to remind you, there are some questions for which there's an expert out there who can answer them for us. So questions about this robot, questions about how it works or whether it's safe, those kind of questions could be answered by the inventor maybe, or a team of testers at the laboratory where it might be made in secret, or in other places. So if you've got a question where we could do tests or go and see an expert to find out the answer, it doesn't look like it's going to be philosophical. We need a question where the only people who can get to the bottom of it are us sitting here thinking together. So we're looking for a thinking question that gets to the heart of what's weird or troubling or mysterious or confusing about this invention. Where's the problem? That's what your question should be asking. So we're going to work 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You 5 are going to work with Abbas, and I'll work partly with you guys and then partly with you guys. So talking first for a question, then ultimately going to write it down. Just one question, please.
Does she make robot cars?
Pardon?
Does she make robot cars?
I think
Okay, so we should have some questions. Yeah, they're just writing theirs up. Wonderful. So now we're on step 6, which is airing our questions. So listening to the questions, getting them out there in the open. I'd like you to read out your question. If you think it needs any more explanation, then you can read it out and give a little more explanation. But if you think it's clear enough as it is, then that's fine. So, as always, you read out your question twice to give us that time for it to sink in. So Maya, you start.
Why should children listen to robots?
Yeah.
And then again, if you read it again.
Why should children listen to robots?
Thank you.
Does it prevent freedom? Does it prevent freedom?
How could it understand what is naughty or good? How could it understand what is naughty or good?
Really, really great questions this week. So what we'll do as always is we're going to vote for the question that we think would make a really good philosophical inquiry. And I'm sure actually that we could get a good philosophical inquiry from any number of questions, but we're looking for one that would make a good philosophy question, but also that people are really interested in. Have you got a question? Pardon? Of course you can vote for your own, but you've only got, as always, you've only got one vote. So, yes, blind vote.
What's a blind vote?
Close your eyes. Yeah, blind vote's where you close your eyes. Can someone just remind us why I always suggest doing that kind of vote? Keenan, go on.
So people don't say you've got your own opinion, you're going to do that, and then you see your friends put their hand up on a certain one, and you just put your hand up because you want to copy your friends, and make it, you can make your own opinion without anyone, without worrying that anyone's going to think anything about you.
Really well said. Couldn't put it better. So, I'll read them out. Close your eyes. Please keep your hands up for a while when I say it, just so I can count everybody. Just vote once, please. First question. How could it understand what is naughty or good? How could it understand what is naughty or good? Keep your hand up high in the air. That one is the one for you. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Hands down. Now, why should children listen to robots? Why should children listen to robots? Hand up in the air if that's for you. Thanks very much. And finally, does it prevent freedom? Does it prevent freedom? Okay, you can open your eyes. Well, really, really close again. So that's one just by just a hair's breadth is this one. How could it understand what is naughty or good? How could this machine understand what is naughty or good? Okay, so that's the one that we're going to talk about. How could it understand what's naughty or good? Right then. So, as you know, first first things first, we talk to the people who came up with that question, because they've probably got their own ideas about whether how this could understand what is naughty or good. So let's go to them first, for them to do the first words. Yeah?
I think it would understand what is naughty or good because it would be the programmer would program it to understand.
Right, okay. How does the programmer know what's naughty or good?
Because he was once a kid and he did learn from them.
Well, it's so Eli is really right, but I think he missed out something. He could have been like, he could have got a little kid's life in like a container or something, and then like put it and programmed it into the robot thingy.
Okay. So somehow this programmer has found out, either from his own childhood experience or from the experience of a child, what is naughtiness and what is goodness. Could you hand on please to someone?
Kizzy.
Well, the thing is, how does the robot know what's naughty and good when the programmer might have been brought up somewhere where you don't really know what's naughty or good.
So does that mean you think it's possible for there to be a person who doesn't know what's naughty and what's good? Okay, what do people make of Kizzy's idea? There's a problem with the programmer's knowledge, potentially. You pass on, please, Kizzy.
I agree with that it could have been like programmed, so I don't think it would be like alive and being from childhood and stuff. So I think it's just being programmed and being also being programmed to sense kids who are naughty or good, and just sense what something's wrong.
It could sense something's wrong. Okay. So Bailey, could you pass on to someone who'd like to comment on this idea of, we were saying the programmer, the programmer would be the one who tells this machine what counts as naughty, what counts as good. What do you make of that idea? So Bailey, you choose someone please. Let's have boys and girls please.
I think that what happens if like the programmer dies or something and then it runs out of commands, then what will it do next? Like if they're saying what is naughty and what is good, what happens if the naughty is needed? Because if someone was naughty, maybe it might be good in a way, because it might be helping someone.
Say a bit more about that idea. That's a new idea. How would it be good for a person to be naughty?
Well, sometimes some people have to do bad things to do good things. So
for example, could you think of an example? Can anyone help to think of an example? She's just saying that maybe being naughty could be good sometimes, which is a weird and interesting idea. An example to pad out what she's saying. Would you just choose someone to give an example?
It could be. Can I say my own idea?
Well, we're going to, not after, we'll just come back to this idea, then we'll go and hear your other ideas, just to help our conversation all fit together. So just at the moment we're talking about this.
It could be, some naughty could help good as well, because if you're naughty, like, say, you didn't do your homework, and there's a good side of that, because there might be something else that you did good.
Okay.
Whilst you're not doing your homework.
Right. Is that a good example of what you meant?
Yeah.
Okay. So how does that, what you were saying about sometimes naughtiness can be good for you, how does that connect to the question, which is, how could this robot tell whether something counted as a naughty thing or counted as a good thing? How does, what you were saying, that interesting idea, how does it link back to the question?
It links back by, when it's saying if a thing, how could it program something and would it affect something? So when it got programmed to show things if they're naughty or good, aren't if it stopped naughty things which were meant for good. So naughty things which will help good.
Right.
What happens if how the robot can understand what is and obviously that's how things are going to be good.
I see. Okay, could you pass someone please to build on what you said?
Kayla?
Another example is that the robot might scan someone's face and say that they're going to be not in the future, but someone there could be acting and they could have been asked to do that.
Ah.
Which would have been good for their career.
Right. Okay. So it could malfunction, this machine, in some way. It might not quite work properly. Okay, shall we go? Can you build on what we were saying? If you rewind, we were asking, how does this machine, this robot, know if it's naughty or good? Then we said maybe it's because the programmer knows. And then we said, well, actually, even if the programmer does have some ideas, naughtiness and goodness is a bit more complicated than we first thought. Sometimes naughty things can have good outcomes and it's all a bit more messy. So that's where we were at. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that if it knows if it's naughty, because if you're going to do something naughty, something happens to your body, like you could get warmer, you could start acting a bit different or something.
So, say there are real things in a human being that would help us predict what they will do, like they get hotter. So say that's true. Let's imagine it is true. How do you think the robot knows whether this you getting a bit hot would count as a naughty thing in the future?
Because it would also know if it's naughty, because if the way you're acting, if you're getting hotter, the way you're acting whilst doing that, like if you're just sat down just fiddling or something, then they might think that you're just nervous about something. And
Right.
the programmer would still know if you're going to do something naughty, so that would help the robot decide as well.
The programmer would still know if you were going to do something naughty.
Yeah.
Would you pass on to someone? Somebody who has another chance to say something, and girls and boys, please.
Kirsty.
You could be sat there getting warm, but it don't mean. Sometimes it don't mean that you're going to be naughty. It might be that you don't feel well, and that you're becoming ill, or you're getting nervous about something, and you're not becoming. Because some people have different reactions to be naughty. Because it's not always getting warm, because that could mean that you're becoming ill.
So do you think
Nervous.
that all naughty actions have some kind of bodily effect as well? Do you think that if we were scientists and wanted to find out what naughtiness was, all we needed to do was take people's temperature or something like that, and then we'd be able to tell scientifically if they were naughty? Or do people think that's not quite what naughtiness is, that naughtiness is a different matter other than that? Would you pass on to someone, please, Casey? Boys and girls, please.
No. I think Casey's right, because, well, you could be really sick, because when you take your temperature, you could be really, really hot, and then this weird robot comes along and says that you're going to be not really naughty and sends you up to your bed or sends you to school, and you make everyone sick.
So Neil, let's just assume then that this idea that we were testing out is not the case. Let's assume that when people are naughty, there's nothing observable. You can't tell by the way their body is. You can't tell by doing any experiment. There's nothing to prove it's naughty that you can measure. Then how on earth does this inventor know the difference between naughty actions and good actions? Aurelia's already said actions are a complicated business. Thoughts have good outcomes and bad outcomes. How do human beings, like the inventor and like all of us, know what makes something naughty and what makes something good? Can you just spend 1 minute talking about that precise question with a partner? Just that question again is, how does someone know, anyone, an inventor or anyone, know the difference between naughtiness and goodness if there's no observable things to prove it? Okay? Try talking about that, please. Okay, everyone, just finish off those conversations that you're having. So we're going to have a few more contributions, then we're going to have a moment where we go all the way around the circle and give everybody a chance to say one final thing on this subject, okay? We'll just have a few more contributions first. Now, the first thing, there's a question behind all this that perhaps I should have asked first, which is this. Do you think that human beings can tell the difference between naughtiness and goodness? Do you think this inventor, or any one of us, are capable of telling the difference between naughty things and bad things? That's the first thing. What are people's feelings about that? Casey?
You can tell the difference because like somebody could be sat there and if somebody was kind to you and telling jokes then you'd be happy and you'd be smiling, but if somebody was being nasty to you and you got really wound up, you might be scrunching up your eyes and your fists or something, and you see reactions, how they're going to react, and that's when the robot can say if you're being naughty or you're being good.
Ah, so the very same thing that would tell a person, you think, you laughing or feeling happy, could also maybe tell the robot?
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. Could you pass on to someone who might have a different idea?
Lucy.
I think that people might not be able to because, say if somebody said, oh my gosh, to their parents, they might class that as really, really naughty, but other people's parents wouldn't class it as naughtiness at all. So people have different opinions on what naughty is and
Right.
what good is. So if I did a job for the teacher, they might think that is good, but other people would just think it's normal. Like it would be normal to do that, and it would good and bad, good and naughty things. Opinion on what people do.
Okay. So does that mean that there is no definite answer? We can't say this act of punching somebody is definitely naughty. We can never say that.
It depends. Like you can say that, but it's like because it's your opinion. It's your opinion on what you think is naughty, not what anybody else thinks. If you have an opinion on what's naughty, it's naughty to you, not to anybody else.
Okay. Could someone else build on that, please? You choose somebody, please. Someone who hasn't had a chance to say anything would be nice.
I agree with, and I think because we gave an example, we were talking about if someone was gonna smash someone's window, I think the Naughtybot would have punished the person, but what if the person was gonna smash the window to help rescue people inside who were trapped and there was a fire? So how would the Naughtybot really know he's smashing the window to rescue people? So when I was going to smash the window, I knew there were people inside, but I don't think the Naughtybot knew. So I agree. I think sometimes it really depends on the person whether what's the thing that's naughty or good.
Do you agree? So Abbas will choose somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, because if if like Lucy said, she said, like someone said, oh my god, to their parents, like my parents would tell me off for it, and then like Lucy said, if she said it to her parents wouldn't tell her off, and then like trying to rescue someone, like good and bad is different to like every person. It's some good is like different because everyone has a line, and if you cross that line you're naughty, and lots of people don't know like right there, loads of people buff around on what's naughty and what's good.
Okay, so now at the point where we're having our final words, everyone who's got the hand out, great, because you'll have a chance to say that in our final words. We'll go around the circle and everyone can say just one sentence, please. If you've got something to say that hasn't been said yet, now's your chance to say it. If you'd like to pass though, that's fine as well. Okay, so maybe if we start with Abbas, would that be alright? And then we'll go all around this way and take this opportunity, if you like, say something.
I don't think it's fair to have a Naughtybot. Yeah, I don't think it's
one
fair.
sentence, short and sweet.
I don't think it's fair because it doesn't know everything.
I don't think it's fair because sometimes it can be right and sometimes it can be wrong. I don't think it's fair because it would only have the programmer's opinions on things that are naughty and bad. And if a person had different opinions, like the parents, then they might disagree with the bot.
Pass.
Well, I've learnt that no one's bad inside. If you, I think that no one's bad inside. I think it's just a bit. It's over the top because it involves in other people's. It goes into other people's space, and if they decide that they're doing something for a good reason, doing something for a bad reason, they should decide it themselves.
I think the Naughtybot is unfair because it prevents people from having their own opinion.
I don't think Naughtybot's fair because it's when it punishes people, it's probably punishing them without their parents knowing and stuff. So if someone was taken out of school because they had been naughty and sent to their bedroom for a week, then the parents would be upset that they've been taken out of school by the Naughtybot, and yeah.
Thanks so much.
I think that instead of the creator putting the things in when you get the robot, you get to program it yourself, say what you think is bad or not, and it can only tell your kids off or not anyone else.
Thank you, that's a brand new idea, that's interesting. Did you say something last time?
I think that.
Okay. Google, it says.
If the children get told off by the Naughtybot, the children won't feel like happy because the Naughtybot isn't their parents, so they won't be happy with anything.
Thank you. Okay, and finally, Casey.
When it's just doing sentences in the past, I think that it's taking over your parents' job, because like your parents' job is to tell you off when they think it's right, and they know when it's right because you might have done it before, but the robot doesn't because it's brand new to you and your parents.
Okay, thanks very much. Thank you everyone. That is the end of our inquiry, and all we've got left now is for our reflection. Reflection, we're going to do what we've done before, which is we're going to think if there's anything in particular that someone else has said that we thought was really interesting, and we're just going to celebrate what they said. So just spend 30 seconds or so. If something jumps out at you when we were coming up with questions, when we were talking together, just now when we went round and had final words, if there's anything that in particular that you'd like to praise someone for saying, now's your chance. So just have a bit of a think. Okay, go ahead.
When Abbas said that if you're going to throw a rock out a window, so smash it, then it could be for a good reason.
Okay, wonderful. So are there any other ideas that other people shared during, because we're looking back now at the inquiry, anything that people said in what's just happened that you'd like to celebrate? Is there anything you'd like to celebrate that someone else said?
I think it was a good idea when you all said that you could program it yourself to like what your parents think is right to tell you for.
Wow, yeah, I agree. I thought that was a really good idea, Neil. Well done, Neil. And Neil, something someone else said?
Well, I think it was good when Kizzy said about the dove thing.
What did she say? Can you remember?
She said about like a realistic dove making machine that's got some sort of mechanical contraption inside it that it could send it over to some wars or something and it'll stop the war.
Oh yeah, that was excellent, thank you. We'll just leave that there now, just because we're at the very end of our inquiry, so all the ideas that you've got left are ones that you need to talk to with one another at playtime. So give yourselves a clap.